My friends, that is what you call right there, what you guys just witnessed. That is what you call the most valuable player. That is what this right here, this name and number that you see on the back of this jersey, if I can even get it right, is what you call the most valuable player, making the most valuable play of the 2024 New York Mets season, because the OMG Grimace Haktua Mets are headed to the 2024 MLB playoffs thanks to the most dramatic game of the season by far, capped off by our MVP, Francisco Lindor, hitting a go-ahead 2-run homer in the 9th inning after Edwin Diaz blows a 3-run lead in the 8th inning. And it could not have gotten much better than that. And you guys are like, whoa, Michael's on screen. Yeah, it's been a while. And then I think this is the perfect time to come back, because now we are in the playoffs and it is time for October baseball. After spawning October baseball very early here in this day against the Atlanta Braves, after splitting the double header this Monday night against the Atlanta Braves, both teams will be in the MLB playoffs in the wild card, and the Arizona Diamondbacks have now been bumped out of the third and final spot. What's up, everybody? Welcome to this oh my god edition of Mets Digest with your host, Michael DeAngelo. As you see on the screen, shout out to Flobo Boys for holding it down for a while I was gone. Had to deal with some real life stuff, but we're back now, and I am more than happy to cover this edition of Mets Digest. We are at little over 1.4K subscribers still. It is now playoff times, fellas, and it is time to upgrade and keep going. And if you really freaking thought that this man was dead, he is not at all. He is alive and well, and he has propelled us to the playoffs, my friends. Playoffs, an area that we saw nothing of the beginning of the season. It was not even something that we were sniffing at the beginning of the season. This was a rebuild, retooling year, new manager, new organization, veterans and washed players signed for cheap contracts to flip at the deadline. And look what it's turned into. We are now a meme team in the 2024 MLB playoffs. Make sure you guys subscribe right here to get all things Mets related right here. All reactions, playoff news, injuries, roster moves, everything right here, right on this channel on Mets Digest, where amazing things happen, because it is now official, and every Mets fan, I'm sure, is just as ecstatic as I am that we are now heading to the playoffs. And let's break it down for you right here on Mets Digest. Let's get started. As Francisco Lindor, these stats are incorrect, just hit the go-ahead home run to send the Mets to the playoffs in the top of the 9th inning, as he hit his 33rd home run now, and picked up his 91th RBI along with that. So these stats are a little incorrect, so I'm not going to really go off of these right now. But this is about gonna sum up his regular season. This is gonna be about what his MVP resume is. You can throw maybe 170 hits around there, and I mean, look, every MLB writer had to have been watching that game. It was today's game was the only game on television in Major League Baseball. So every writer and everyone that votes for the awards this offseason, they were watching. And if Francisco Lindor didn't put on enough of an example of why he should be the most valuable player, that game proved it right then and there. And I mean, he had a clutch hit, of course, earlier in the game to pick up an RBI as well with a base hit up the middle, and capped off by, of course, the 2-run homer, like what we all said. And it is now over, and that basically puts the dot on the paper, and Lindor has now submitted his resume into hopefully winning his first ever NL MVP award, something that he has to go up against Shohei Ohtani for, and it is now a neck and neck race, safe to say. So we'll see what happens with all of that. And that is a long time from now. And I'm sure no one can really care about that right now because it is now playoff time. And Francisco Lindor, I'm now going to say, even before that, we had some other heroes in the game as well, besides Grimace in the background. Brandon Nimmo himself hit a big 3-run homer to take a 3-run lead in the 6th inning, I believe it was. And I mean, just to say that this team really woke up out of nowhere in this game to fight back. We've seen it time and time again this season with as soon as that 7th inning comes around, as soon as that 7th inning stretch is over, something turns around with this team, especially in the bats, and are just able to channel this dynamic clutchness of hitting approach and just being able to put the ball in play in the right spots. And it is as soon as you think this team is dead, they turn it up in these last 3 innings to just captivate this fan base into believing into what this team of full of misfits and whatever else you want to call it, into what is now a October baseball team. This is a little bit irrelevant now because this was tweeted by the MLB after game 1, and it was that if the Braves win, the Braves will be the 5 seed and the Mets will be the 6 seed, and if the Mets win, they will be the number 5 seed and the D-backs will be the 6 seed. That was before game 2. And now that the Braves have won game 2 by a score of 3-0, it is now official that the Mets will be the 5 seed, or excuse me, the Mets will be the 6 seed and the Braves will be the 5 seed. So now the New York Mets are headed back to Milwaukee to face the Brewers in what will be a 3-game wild card set at American Family Field. A team that they just played and lost 2 out of the 3 games in Milwaukee to basically set up what this drama-filled doubleheader, maybe the most drama-filled doubleheader in MLB history, which is what we just watched this afternoon. And now that the dust has settled, almost pretty much, it's not yet because both teams are jumping up and down, popping bottles and whatnot. It is now official that the Mets will be headed to Milwaukee to play in the wild card. If the Mets were to sweep the Braves, if they were to win both of the games, they would have actually knocked the Braves out of the wild card. The Diamondbacks would have been in the last spot, and the Mets would have been headed to San Diego to play the Padres in the 3-game wild card set, and that would have been at Petco Park as well. So this now gives the Mets a little bit of a shorter flight and is going back to a territory that they were just once in. Remember, they flew to Atlanta, played the first game, lost, had the next 2 games postponed, had to fly immediately over to Milwaukee, played 3 games, they lose 2 out of the 3, and then fly back to Atlanta to play for their playoff lives in the Monday doubleheader. And now that that's all over with, the Mets are in the playoffs as the 6th seed, facing the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that would pretty much, I'm pretty sure every fan is happy to face because, as much as the star-powered San Diego Padres are very loaded, it is a team that we have gone back and forth with this whole season. We've split the 4-game series with them, and even the season before, the Mets and Padres played a 4-game season. That series was also split. So, that would be a series that would go to 3 games for sure. And it is a team that we've always butted heads mightily with. And to see now a different team in the Milwaukee Brewers, a team that doesn't have their star outfielder Christian Yelich and is missing a couple other bats. This is a team that is very beatable coming into this on the road. It looks like Luis Severino. I'm just going to change the image here real quick. I found this funny. It is now going to be Luis Severino, uh, with game one on in his hands probably against the Milwaukee Brewers. That's my guess who would be starting game one. Game two, probably Jose Quintana. And then game three would probably go to Sean Manaea if so. Or we could see a skip in the rotation and see Sean Manaea in game two, especially if the Mets drop that first game. So lots of different scenarios that Carlos Mendoza has to play with here. We also do not know what the return status of Kodai Senga is this game. May have been possible that if the Mets lost the first game, that Kodai Senga could have been activated to play in game two of that doubleheader. But little to no less, the Mets won the first game. Joey Lucchesi was activated to start game two. He ended up pitching pretty well, only giving up one run at around 5 or 6 innings. I'm sorry, I forgot what it was. And here we are now looking at what maybe could be Kodai Senga on his way back to play in the MLB playoffs. Will it happen? We have no idea. Remember, he was experiencing tricep tightness in his AAA start for Syracuse just last week. So it is pretty, pretty shysty to know if he's actually going to be coming back or not. And as far as regard to other pitchers, Christian Scott was transferred to the 60-day IL right after game one. So it is pretty imminent that he will not be making any sort of return to the playoffs this year, especially with guys like Brandon Sproat down in AAA that could easily be brought up and be put on the playoff roster. A guy who can pretty much bring the same thing that Christian Scott can to the table. And it is now, we now await what the Mets wild card playoff roster will be, who will be getting cut, what pitchers are on the roster, how many lefties are going to be in that bullpen. We'll see. All of our questions will be answered sooner or later, and we will have those updates for you whenever it comes here on Mets Digest. Me and Flobo Boys cannot wait for the playoffs to get started, and we will be right here. I am back now. I promise. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving. I'm not taking any sort of sudden leave of absence. I had some stuff here in New York that was going down that I had to be a part of for my family, and I am back now, ready to cover the Mets playoff run on right here on Mets Digest. So make sure you guys subscribe right here and follow along on this journey, as now you got to be satisfied with whatever happens, right? Like, we made it. We weren't supposed to be anywhere near here right now. We are now a playoff team. This is something that can easily attract free agents. Seeing guys like Sean Manaea, Luis Severino, and other guys in the bullpen having success that that David Stearns picked up in the offseason. This is stuff right here that attracts star free agents to come to your team, and that is something that I'm most excited about. But that's something that I could discuss in another video when we have some more reports about some free agents in the offseason. I'm going to end it off right here. And as far as Michael DeAngelo for Mets Digest, I will see you guys hopefully in the next video. And Flobo Boys will be probably on the next one to give his reaction as well, and some other reports and statistics. I will be right here waiting for the next video as well. Goodbye, everybody, and let's go Mets.